You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, another week has started, and we've changed things around. So you got more than just 1 hour of me right now. You get 2. Yep, we're going to do the Dan Wickline Show. We're going to follow that with in-stores this week. Then we're going to do a minute to skim it. And then we're going to have a new show debuting, but not yet. But that's going to be that slot. And then we got Country Road Comics tonight. So we got a lot of stuff here on The Experience. So let's stick around and kick this thing off. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are going to be talking about the new Willow series, where we're also going to talk about the original movie, which I know a lot of people were taking their time and going back and rewatching the original series or the original movie before going into the series, which I thought was a great idea. Did that myself. But we will definitely get to that in a little bit. But I got some news. I mean, a lot happened between Thursday's show and today's show. There was just a ton of trailers dropped. I mean, we had one of the trailers dropped during the show last week, and we covered that. And then, and we had Ant-Man trailer, we had a Guardians Galaxy trailer, the Indiana Jones trailer. Can't say I'm thrilled with the Dial of Destiny as a title, but the trailer looked good, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it was a pretty big. And then there was a trailer for The Witcher Blood Origin series, the Last of Us trailer, where they use Aha in it, and I'm like, well, you get points just for that, though. They did take on me, and I think if they really, for the theme and everything they're going for, I think The Sun Always Shines on TV would have been the better choice. Yeah, that would have been the better choice. Let's see. One of my producers says Indiana Jones trailer doesn't count. That movie should have been a short film. Kyle. Why should that movie should have been a short film?
Because after Crystal Skull, no one deserves to have to sit through another Indiana Jones movie.
But it's from Mangold, the guy that did Logan, and think about it from the Star Trek point of view. Raiders, great. Temple of Doom, good, but a little too dark. Last Crusade, great. Crystal Skull, It's great, the odd number one.
Great. Terrible.
There was a lot.
Harrison Ford's like 107.
There is negative feedback towards Temple of Doom because of how dark it got.
That's a fair criticism of Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Any movie where a guy gets his heart ripped out of his chest is, okay, fair. But
yeah. But it's like Star Trek in that it's the odd number ones are great. So
if they had recast Indiana Jones,
sacrilege.
Spock, the same way they recast Spock, I could have been okay with it. But I don't need to see a Harrison Ford ego pick any more than I need to see a Harrison Ford talk show appearance.
No, Harrison Ford wants to do one more. We let Harrison Ford do one more. He's Harrison Ford.
And I will agree that he has earned that right. That doesn't mean I have to be happy about it.
If we only did movies and stuff based on whether or not Kyle would be happy, we wouldn't have any movies.
Zachary Levi would never be unemployed again in his life. Of course, he would never wear anything other than a red suit for the rest of his life. Also, I will say this. We would get a lot more Tim Burton movies.
Zachary Levi was better as Fandral than he is as Shazam.
That's a strong take, Daniel. I was ready to move on from my Shazam joke and give credit to I started watching Wednesday, and I want that to be a movie. Like this Addams Family to be a whole movie. But I need to live with that for a minute. Fandral. My God.
Yep. Let that sit with you for a bit.
That's gonna fester.
Like Uncle
Fester.
Yeah. So while he's festering, we're going to talk about. We had some news. We found out that actress Kate Dickie, who played Lisa Aaron in Game of Thrones, has been cast as the villain or a villain in the upcoming second season of Loki. Now, her character they're still keeping it under wraps. There's been some rumors, and again, take this with a giant grain of salt, that she may end up playing an older version of Sophie in the same way that Richard E. Grant played an older version of Loki. So that's a possibility. But we know that Tom Hiddleston, of course, is coming back. Owen Wilson, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Sophia DiMartino, and Eugene Cordero are all coming back, as well as Tara Strong as Miss Minute. But then we're also adding Raphael Casal and Ki Hoi Kwan, speaking of Temple of Doom, will be joining the cast. Now, the story is it's going to be interesting because I've been hearing a lot of stuff having to do with Loki lately. And one of the things I've heard, and again, grain of salt, that it's going to pick up from where the last one left off with the Kang statue and all of that. But there's a possibility that this is taking place in the past. Hello, Richard. That this takes the reason Morbius and B15 don't know who Loki is because they haven't met him yet. So there's a possibility that he got sent back to the TVA prior to him being captured. So that's one of the theories going on now. Not theories, but that's one of the rumors of what the series is going to be. Again, take all of that with a grain of salt. But the one thing we do know is that Kate Dickie from Game of Thrones is joining the cast. Eugene Cordero is the only actor I care about returning. I think he is actually the Watcher, a fan theory I made up with no supporting evidence. Okay. It's as good as any. You guys caught the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailer, or Volume 3 trailer. Well, everybody's talking about Adam Warlock appearing, the fact that we might have the New Men. Is that New York and Manhattan, or is that a different planet? I mean, everybody's talking about everything except what might be the most important thing, which is the moment that Rocket Raccoon or Rocket hugs an otter. That otter, we've actually have been introduced, well, name checked before. If you go all the way back to the first episode of Guardians of the Galaxy, the first volume, there is the scene where they're being scanned by the Nova Corps, and Rocket is on the screen as all that data information around him. Well, on there it says known associates. Has two names, Groot and Lila. That's Lila. Lady Lila, she is in the comics Rocket's soulmate, and it looks like that may be the case in here as well. But what's interesting is that there's two names coming up who might be playing the voice or voicing Lila. One of them is Danielle Melchior, I think is how her name is pronounced. She played Ratcatcher 2 in the Suicide Squad. She is supposed to be somehow involved in the series. Well, or in the movie. There was a rumor of her being cast, and we haven't heard who she's going to be playing, but she might be one of the new men. I mean, it could be anything at that point. But people are still trying to figure out what part she's playing. There was another rumor going around of someone who had been brought in to Guardians, and that their role was going to be a voiceover role. And that is Lady Gaga. Big rumor about that. So it would make a lot of sense to bring her in as a voiceover, even though she's going to be in the upcoming Joker sequel as Harley Quinn, because this would reunite her with Bradley Cooper, who voices Rocket. So you could have a Star is Born reunion with Rocket and Lila. So, hey Kenneth, how you doing? I just like the idea of Lady Gaga because then she and Bradley Cooper will have to sing a terrible song together. They don't have to sing. They probably will, but. And James Gunn usually picks pretty good music. So if they do sing a song together, it might be something spectacular. Because he does pick really good music.
If I never hear the stupid song from the stupid A Star is Born Again, it will be too stupid soon.
A, they're not going to do that song. And
I understand.
B, Bradley Cooper's got his Rocket voice, which is a lot different from his singing voice.
I could get behind them doing something like Islands in the Stream or the Elton John Kiki D song, the name I can't think of right now.
How about You're the One That I Want?
No. But the Elton, I can remember Kiki D, but I can't remember the name of the stupid song.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Anyway.
Islands in the Stream is an interesting choice, though.
Well, because she's an otter. It's a water-based joke.
Okay. How about Time of My Life?
Ooh. Don't Go Breaking My Heart is the Elton John Kiki D song.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't want it to be Lady Gaga. I think the woman who played the girl who played Ratcatcher 2 would be great. I think she could capture the humor really well.
Now I want to hear Bradley Cooper in Rocket voice singing "Now I've Had the Time of My Life."
I could get behind it, but only if they do an animated version of the dance sequence.
Oh, the live action version of the dance sequence would be awesome.
Well, if Rocket doesn't lift Lila up over his head and spin around, what are you even doing, James Gunn? What are you even doing?
We're rewriting the movie in ways that probably never going to happen, but I like it.
Marvel should just start listening to this show.
Yeah.
We have some ideas.
We do. Yep. Big time. So, all right. got one other kind of interesting story here. This has to do a little bit with Willow. Not a lot. But Jonathan Kasdan, son of Lawrence Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan, of course, was the co-writer on Solo, a Star Wars story. The two of them wrote it together as father and son. Lawrence Kasdan was behind Silverado. And I mean, there's just a bunch of Kasdan's done a lot of great writing, both the dad and the son. But they worked together on Solo, a Star Wars story. And Jonathan Kasdan is the creator and head writer on Willow, the new Willow series, which is an interesting other connection because the original Willow movie was directed by Ron Howard, and Ron Howard directed Solo, a Star Wars story, and that's where the two of them met and started talking about doing something with Willow. So, connections everywhere. Well, he was talking about the Star Wars characters from Solo and how much he would really like to get back and play more with the characters from that movie. Now, Solo didn't do very well when it initially came out, but it's gained a lot of steam since then. And it might be because the sequel movies weren't that well received, so it's possible that it's making Solo look better. Rogue One and Solo look great compared to those films to a lot of people, and I liked Solo. I'd love to see them do more with that. There's already been talk about a Lando Disney Plus series, but we don't know whether that's Donald Glover's Lando or Billy D. Williams' Lando, or a combination of the two. I would like to see more of Donald Glover's Lando. I'd love to see that whole set of characters and stuff come back. Well, Jonathan Kasdan agrees. And he told the Hollywood Reporter, "I have been intrigued by the wonderful Werewolf by Night as a potential form of storytelling. So I would love to see Lucasfilm embrace a short-form novella version for telling some of their stories. That certainly seems like a place where future stories about those characters could live," referring to the ones from Solo. One in particular he would like to revisit is Kira, and Amelia Clark has also stated that she would like to do more with Kira. And, if they're not willing to do a full-length series, I think the idea of doing 1-hour specials to play with these characters more could be a really good idea. And that's, the kind of thing I'm looking for. So Lawrence Kasdan, or Jonathan Kasdan, hopes that Star Wars kind of picks up from Marvel and starts doing these little one-shots. And again, I think those could be a lot of fun. If I started thinking about that, if they do let Jonathan Kasdan do one, they should definitely get Bryce Dallas Howard to direct, because then you got even more of a family connection going on. But there's a lot of characters I think would be fun to explore in that 1-hour format. I think of somebody like Bosk, or some of the bounty hunters from Empire that we didn't really get to see more of, other than in the comics and the books. Forlome, IG-88, some of those characters would be interesting to see in a 1-hour format. Black Chrysanthemum, who was a big hit from Book of Boba Fett and from the comics. It could be fun to see that character, just a chance to explore these characters that they, Fennec Shand series, one shot, or just maybe the heavy machine gunner guy from Mandalorian, Vizsla. Is it Paz Vizsla is his name? Yeah. So you got a lot of characters in Star Wars you could do, maybe something with Admiral Akbar or was it Nyuk Nyuk, the co-pilot on the Falcon when Lando was flying it in Return of the Jedi? There's so many things you could do, so many little characters you could explore in a 1 hour special or in a 45-minute special that I think would work really well, would be a lot of fun. So, or you could pull straight from some of the characters from the comics, the villainous versions of 3PO and R2-D2 from the Dr. Aphra series. Some more with Darth Maul. How cool would it be to have Ray Park come back and do Darth Maul one more time? Have do something with him and his brother Savage Opus. So I like that idea. I like the concept of doing that. Hopefully, Star Wars will pay attention. That Kathleen Kennedy or whoever ends up being in charge starts paying attention to those kind of things. I think it would be really cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take our first break. And when we come back, we will start talking about Willow. We'll be right back.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP. Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form. Who would win, Batman or Superman? It's the age-old debate, except it's so much more complicated than that. Nerd Killer Warfare every week on The Experience is your chance to debate other nerds in the questions we've all been asking for years, except we take those debates and turn them up to 11. Go to bit.ly/EXP casting or scan the QR code to be part of the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We're going to talk about Willow, both the original movie and the new series on Disney Plus. But I want to keep in mind, guys, that we're going to be doing in stores this week immediately following the Dan Wickline Show. So I don't get to take a nap in between anymore. Kyle doesn't get to go get caffeine. We just go right into talking comic books we've already read, and we got a bunch of books today. We got 2 different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books. We got the new Gargoyles book, Vampirella versus Red Sonja. We've got some books, new books called Know Your Station, another one called Only Teenage Wasteland. So lots of great stuff to stick around for. Hellboy in Love. So good stuff. Some really, really good stuff. Also some, but we'll talk about that in an hour. Then after that will be Minute to Skim It with the crew from Space Cadets and Miss Jen. Then we have an open slot that will be soon filled by a new show. And then we'll have Country Road Comics, who's got some... Now, if I'm reading this correctly, I asked them what they're doing this week, and they said they had $5 bins and $3 blind bins. And I'm assuming that means buy it nows. And they're not just big empty bins. So, but we'll find out together when the show airs today, because you are correct. Okay, good. So $5 you can buy now, or $3 you can just buy it blind, which I think is kind of interesting. It's like, who needs to go to Vegas when you can stay on the experience and gamble on comic books? Did you get something good? Find out. So that's tonight. We'll be doing that all night. And then we have like I said, the new show will be coming soon. I think it's going to actually debut on Thursday, and then it'll come on Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward. But we'll know more soon. All right, so let's talk about the original Willow movie. Now, it came out in 1988 in May. I remember going to see it. I was 18 years old. And I think the first thing I found out recently is that Warwick Davis is a lot younger than I thought he was. Because I remember watching Willow and thinking, he's 20, 30-something year old. But I forget he's coming off of Return of the Jedi, where he was very young as Wicket. And he was only 17 when they did Willow. So I'm a year older than Warwick Davis. By the way, is it Warwick Davis or Warwick Davies? I've always heard it as Davies, but somebody kind of name checked me on it as Davis, and now I'm not sure. Anybody got a handle on that one?
I'm pretty sure that I've heard Warwick Davis himself say Warwick Davis.
Okay. We will go with Warwick Davis because it is spelled that way too. So Warwick Davis. The movie itself, like I said, I saw it in 1988, right around the time it came out. And there were certain things I remembered. I remembered Val Kilmer was in it. I remembered Joanne Whalley was in it, who would then go on to become Joanne Whalley Kilmer for a handful of years. I remember something about a baby. And I remembered the Pixie, or the Brownies. And I remember finding the Brownies kind of annoying. By the way, that's Rick Overton and Kevin Pollak as the Brownies, which I think is hilarious now because we know them so well as comedic actors and stuff, but I don't know how well we knew them back then. So I didn't really have a huge impression of the movie. Kroll, Legend, Willow played on repeat at my house when I was a kid. That's Jay. Well, so I saw a bunch of people saying, oh, we should watch, people were asking if we were going to do Willow. And Jim Beard, who I do the Pop Go the Writers with, wanted to do Willow for that show. So I thought, all right. And then I saw a lot of people talking about, well, you rewatch it. It's on Disney Plus. You should rewatch the original movie. And I thought, all right, I'm going to do that. And I sat down. And I had some work I was doing, so I put it on and started watching it. And I was stunned just how much I really enjoyed the movie. I mean, it hit me in the same way that Princess Bride did. Just a very lighthearted, heartwarming, fun adventure that, it's never really too dark. It's never really depressing or anything like that. It's just a fun show, a fun movie to watch. I don't think it's as good as Princess Bride. Princess Bride to me just clicks on just about every cylinder. There's a couple things in this that could have been improved a little bit, and it's more story. It's more from George Lucas. But overall, I really, really liked the movie. And I said as much, and Jay brought this up earlier. When I talked to Jim about it on Sunday night for Pop Go the Writers, Jim said something I didn't know was possible, in that he doesn't like Princess Bride. He actually liked Willow better than Princess Bride, and he didn't really like Princess Bride. I almost feel like I should have to cancel Pop Go the Writers now. Don't know if I can continue working with him. How do you not like Princess Bride? I don't know, man. That's kind of like not liking Thin Mint cookies from the Girl Scouts. You know? I don't know how that's possible. Not liking Mel Brooks. Yeah, exactly. Jeff's got it right. It's heresy. How do you not like Princess Bride? It's one of those movies that I think is in just about everybody's top tens, except for Jim's. And now I got to think about that every time he says something's good. I got to put in that qualification. I got to think, oh, Jim liked it. Jim didn't like Princess Bride. I don't know, man. It just changes things. You think you know somebody. Doing the show with him for almost a year. I don't know, man. Changes you. But so some of the things I really liked about the Willow movie, I thought Val Kilmer was terrific in it. And I find it interesting how they're handling him in the new series. I do want to say this. There was a lot of talk about him not appearing in the season. And it's not because they didn't invite him back, and it's not because his health, which is an issue. He did appear in Top Gun Maverick. They had to dub his voice in, but they could have done that as well. The problem and the reason he's not appearing in Willow is that they had planned it, they had it worked out, and then COVID prevented it from happening. We're still dealing with fallout from COVID when it comes to filming and stuff, because some of this stuff was filmed a long time ago, and then special effects and everything else happened, and it makes these productions very long. So his not being able to be in it was due to COVID restrictions. That said, there's always a chance he might show up in a season 2 if there is one. Will there be one? I don't know. It took him 18 years to do anything to follow up on it other than those Chris Claremont books. So, and we don't talk about those. They're the Bruno of Willow. But I thought a lot of the Willow movie was really good, but there were some interesting things, like the The brownies were a little silly. The love potion thing, just, I don't know. It just felt kind of weird in the middle to have the whole love potion thing going on. But, it's funny. We look at George Lucas as being this incredible creator of universes and stuff, but his basic stories tend to be a little on the adolescent side. He creates great characters and great universes, but the actual through line stories tend to be a little more sophomoric, a little more younger skewed, and that's fine, and that's why I think we have a lot of problems with the Star Wars stuff nowadays, because they were basically the equivalent of Doctor Who. They were written for children or for like Saturday matinees, and doing them now, you either get something like Andor where they're really ratcheting up the tension and themes, or you get something that grown-up people are no longer getting into because they saw the Star Wars in their younger days, and now they're watching these things in their 40s and their 50s, and I think that's the thing where Willow was also that way. It was a very younger skewing. The series is bringing in some more adult themes. Now, I don't mean like, it's not suddenly a BDSM story. Would have been interesting, but it's not. But they are bringing in more aspects of diversity. And I don't have a problem with any of it, but it does feel like they're kind of pushing it fast to get the check marks. It's like two characters that obviously seem to be attracted to each other. We can't let it just build up naturally over the course of the 6 or 8 episodes. We got to get to the big moment first in the first episode to get that diversity check mark off. So Willow meets Karma. Wow. Yeah. Wait, let me write that down. Hang on. But that's probably my only real complaint about the new series is it does feel like it's racing to score points early on, which at the expense of the storytelling. There's a relationship between two characters that I think could have been built up over the episode, a couple episodes, and they kind of jumpstart it. And I just feel like you've lost the drama and the actual storytelling just to get that point. So that said, I look at certain things in the story that I thought were really cool. The fact that Sorsha married Mad Mardigan and has children, and that their son is named Eric after Eric who fought with them against the evil queen. The person that was probably closest to Mardigan actually having a friend, they named their kid after him. He died at the battle, but I think that was pretty neat, and it's subtle. They don't just come out and say, oh, he's named after this character. He's just named Arik. And I'm like, that is so cool. But if they named the son Arik, I don't know what Kit stands for. Who Kit is supposed to be named after, if anybody. That would be interesting to see if that's a short version of somebody's name from the original movie. It's good to see Joanne Wally come back and Warwick Davis. And there's one other character, well, there's a couple other characters, minor ones, that came back, but those are two of the big ones. And the fact that we don't have Kilmer in the first season makes sense because they're kind of teasing him, but they're kind of building up his presence anyway. And let's talk about that, though, after we take our second break. So let's do our break real quick. We'll come back, talk more about Willow. Be right back.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Tomorrow I am going to do the topic that I wanted to do last week, but then we had those trailers come up and stuff, and we never got to. So tomorrow we're going to talk about what Captain America 3 could have been before they went with Civil War. I like the topic. I'm excited to do the topic, but it just got bumped by the trailers that dropped in Brazil. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then, not sure what we're going to do yet Thursday. Kind of have to figure that one out. So, all right, let's get back to Willow. So we get 2 episodes of the new season, and I like how they did that. I like they dropped 2 episodes. I always think that's good because sometimes the first episode is slow or we're not really getting into it that quickly. You know, it's like in this particular case, we don't see Willow in the first episode. It's all about Sorsha, her kids, this arranged marriage that gets set up. By the way, for anybody who didn't recognize him, the guy playing Graydon, the prince that Kit is supposed to marry, of course, is Tony Revolori from the Spider-Man movies. It's Flash Thompson. And Erin Kellerman, who's playing Jade, is from Solo, A Star Wars Story, Empress Nest. She was also in Falcon and Winter Soldier as Flag Smasher, the head of the Flag Smashers. So, which is interesting because she ties into Solo, which was Ron Howard, and Jonathan Kasdan. So again, it all kind of comes back around. But so we meet all those characters, but we don't get to Willow at that point. So we spend this whole time. Oh, someone else from Solo's in this as well. Jonas Sotamo, who plays the new Chewbacca, plays the Scourge in the series as well. So a lot of Solo stuff going on in here. But losing my train of thought. Then so we don't get Willow till the second episode. My other problem with the show is and maybe this is the thing, it being that it's a more simplistic show, but a lot of the reveals seem obvious to me. Kit and Jade seemed obvious, and that we got to it. The reveal of who the cooking girl is, that seemed obvious to me as well. The wounded soul, head of the garrison defenses, what happens to him. All of those things seem really obvious, but the things that didn't was like the character of Grayson. As much as I found him vacuous, basically just an empty suit through the entire first episode, I really started to like him in the second. The use of magic, the person trying to learn magic in the episode, that seemed obvious to me how that was going to play out, and it did. But so it's not a very intricate plot. It's very straightforward. There's little mysteries, like what happened to Mad Mardigan, why he's been gone for so long. There's this magical cuirass that is being talked about. There's the kidnap. I mean, there's a lot going on, but in a lot of ways, it's a much simpler story, which is interesting coming off of Andor. Andor was a much more complicated, tense series, and we go into Willow, which is much more family friendly and skewing younger most of the time. There's a few topics that seem a little risque for the younger skewing, if that makes sense. We kind of get into the sexuality of both the prince and the princess, and which just seems like unnecessary to cover to get, I don't know if that makes sense. But overall, I really liked it. I liked the 2 episodes. I found myself liking it more after episode 2, which is, again, why I'm glad they did the 2 back-to-back. Because I found the first one to be interesting, but darker. But as soon as we get to the Nelwyn and to Willow, it lightens up quite a bit. And even though there's still dark stuff happening, there's a much lighter tone, and it gets that tone that the movie had. The first episode didn't have that tone. It felt like, what they do with most things nowadays is they, we're going to do a reboot, but it's going to be a dark and gritty reboot. This isn't. It's a continuation, and where it didn't have that fun of the movie in the first episode, it definitely got it in the second. So, if you haven't watched it yet, I think you guys should. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to cover it through the run. Plus, there's not a lot going on in December. There's a few things popping up. We're definitely going to cover Jack Ryan 3rd season when that comes out. stuff like that. But Willow is going to be a big part of our December. So have to figure out what's going to be the best day to cover it on. But we shall see. One of the things I learned, which was interesting, is that Warwick's wife was a villager in the original movie and is a villager in this. His daughter Annabelle is in the series playing his daughter Mims. Now, if you remember, Mims was a tiny little girl in the original movie. Well, it wasn't the same actress, but now his daughter is playing his daughter, which is kind of cool. But something I found really interesting is that Warwick has a son who doesn't want to be an actor, but he's a stunt double. He's his dad's stunt double. So Warwick's son is doing the stunt double work for him. And then I found out what his son's name is. Warwick Davis named his son Harrison, which just makes me think that Harrison Ford must have had a huge impression on Warwick when they met when he was a kid on Return of the Jedi. And that just made me smile. I love that idea. I love the idea that that Harrison was such a good guy that it left an impression on Warwick that he wanted to name his kid after him. I thought that was great. Trivia Master is never late. He arrives exactly when he's meant to. I don't know why he's a Trivia Master, but I do get the reference, and that's great. So, yeah. I think they're moving the series along quickly, which I thought was interesting. It's not being really drug out, which a lot of Disney Plus series do seem to start really slow. You know, they like, well, we're going to establish this character, and then we're going to give it to you again and again and again to really make you understand what this character is about. And here they kind of went, all right, here are the characters, here's the danger, go. Episode 2, move along, bring in Willow, some more characters, some more danger, go. And I'm okay with that. I actually thought that worked really well, and I really like the pace it's going at. They could have moved along a little faster in the second episode. There was a whole lot of writing and talking and talking and writing and talking. But at least they have horses. The big thing against Lord of the Rings is, why didn't they have horses? Aragorn has a horse in a lot of the movie. Why didn't they get horses to go to Mordor? I don't understand that. So I'm glad they didn't follow that. You know, just put them on horses. They even got a wagon, so you could teach magic in the back of the wagon. That's smart. So, yeah, I'm liking the show quite a bit. I'm not sure what night it's on. It's probably Wednesday. So it'll probably be a new one tonight, tomorrow. But look forward to seeing it. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up there. It's about a minute or two early, but I need to take a quick break before our next show, which we're going to go right into in stores this week, as I said earlier. So I will be right back. Kyle will be, and Jay will be joining us, and we'll be talking about the new books shipping this week. Then will be Minute to Skim It, which usually is before us. Yes, Kyle.
Sean's coming on today, too.
Oh, and Sean. There we go. We got 4 people. Excellent.
I had forgot.
Good. That means I can nap through half of the show now.
Yeah, it's true.
So, All right, guys. We'll be right back in just a few minutes with In Stores This Week. Stick around.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.